Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. Now, it's been a somewhat eventful week for Harry and Meghan. On Harry's front, first and foremost, the nothing burger of an inquiry from the Heritage Foundation as it relates to Harry's visa and all of that was denied by the government, which is not a surprise to me. That request and all of the hubbub surrounding it was just a circus.
I'm not even joking. They decided to do all this after they read his memoir. They literally went to a federal agency to get someone's private visa application via the Freedom of Information Act. Pause to read. This bottom paragraph, insane. In court filings, the DHS has noted that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency originally denied the request from the Heritage Foundation because this group did not have Prince Harry's authorization or consent to release the information. So how are they justifying this? Well, attorneys for the Heritage Foundation see this case as part of a larger effort to uncover non-compliance, including accusations from Republican lawmakers that the Department of Homeland Security is deliberately refusing to enforce the country's immigration laws. And when the Heritage Foundation was asked about Prince Harry's privacy, they were like, well, his privacy is extraordinarily diminished given his public remarks on the subject. Like, this literally just proves that they don't see him as a real person. And this little weasel, he works for the Heritage Foundation. He has been spearheading this. He also works for the Telegraph, which is a surprise to no one. He has hosted British politicians at the Heritage Foundation's office on Capitol Hill. He also denies that he is pursuing a hidden agenda. These are just a few of the tweets that he has about Harry or Meghan. Anyways, the DHS said get lost.
American input into what is happening in America.
So I started to comment on this video, but then I realized that my comments were going to be 18 comments long to fit in everything I want to say. So I'll do a stitch. First of all, this is the Heritage Foundation. This video is about the Heritage Foundation specifically suing the U.S. government in order to obtain a copy of Prince Harry's application for a visa. They want to prove that he lied about past drug usage on his visa, saying he didn't do drugs after he admitted in his book that he did do drugs. But past drug usage does not necessarily exclude you from getting a visa. Felony drug convictions may exclude you from getting a visa, but not just admitting to drug use. So I don't know what the point of their lawsuit is, but it seems pretty frivolous. This is the same organization that employed Josh Duggar. They are not just a conservative think tank. They are, in my opinion, a right-wing Christian nationalist hate group. They are looking up to the folks in The Handmaid's Tale. So I think there's some nefarious intent with this lawsuit. I don't see where they really give a shit about Prince Harry. Now, on the visa side of things, this creator asked the question, did the United States government bend the rules in order to give him a visa because he doesn't get diplomatic immunity since he's not a working member of the royal family? But this is America, and with enough money and celebrity, getting a visa is not that difficult. You don't have to lie or bend the rules. The rules are actually created for people just like him. There are special visas for celebrities. There are special visas for what they call an investor visa, where if you come to this country and buy enough property or start a company worth enough money and employ a handful of people, then you're considered an investor, and there's a special visa for that. So they don't have to bend the rules because he's a rich and famous dude. The rules were meant for rich and famous dudes. And there's just the most obvious that he would be eligible for a spousal visa as well, because he's married to a United States citizen, and they, at the time, had one child who was a United States citizen, or is a United States citizen. And yes, Archie, even though he was born in England, is a United States citizen because his mother is a natural-born United States citizen. Therefore, that citizenship right is afforded to Archie even though he was not born in this country. That's what protects children who are born to like service members who are overseas. Long story short, if the Heritage Foundation's behind it, don't trust it.
And we also got to see Harry out and about supporting veterans during the Warrior Games. Now, if you don't know, Harry was inspired by the Warrior Games and therefore created the Invictus Games. And a lot of the veterans that compete for the Warrior Games will represent Team USA at this year's Invictus Games. So it's such a full circle moment. It's nice to see Harry being embraced by the veteran community in the US, having really good conversations with people who are very higher up in the United States military ladder. So that was really nice. He was well received and received a lot of applause for his heartwarming speech. So that was really nice.
And our special guest in the house for the gold medal match, the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, enjoying sitting volleyball action here at the Warrior Games Challenge. Good to see him here. Part of the Invictus Games. Many of our athletes here competing will be heading over to the Invictus Games later on in the year.
My spirit is renewed, so thank you, every single one.
Now, when it relates to Meghan, we recently found out that Archetypes will not be renewed for a season 2 on Spotify. Now, there's a lot of discourse surrounding it, and personally, I just choose to ignore a lot of it, simply because we will never know the specifics surrounding that decision. The only people who will really know 100% of what happens is Spotify, Archwell Audio, and Meghan's agency WME. But from what we've been told, the decision was mutual, and the most important aspect of it is that Meghan is currently working on a project for the Archetypes audience on another platform. So that is what I choose to focus on, and I'm super excited to see what she comes up with, because we know when we don't see or hear from her for months, she's always behind the scenes working, and Archetypes just did such an incredible job and won really great awards. Ratings were very high, it was very well received, and it definitely scratched an itch for a lot of females out here who are interested in that type of topic. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
I put on some grain to make this video, so I'm sure you all heard or will hear tomorrow that Spotify will not be releasing a season 2 of Archetypes. The Wall Street Journal broke the news, and sources say that Harry and Meghan wanted to move away from exclusive Spotify distribution and find a new home for their audio projects, which is the exact same reason that the Obamas left Spotify in 2022. Because Spotify makes their podcast original and exclusive, there is no other way to listen to the content unless you have a Spotify account. Because of the success of season 1, Spotify and Archwell were in talks for a really long time for season 2, and a lot of people in the industry were expecting a season 2. This is from The Hollywood Reporter at the end of 2022, and the article is discussing 11 shows that Spotify decided to cancel back then. RIP Crime Show. When discussing the cancellation of those 11 shows, The Hollywood Reporter said, as the audio giant seeks to reallocate resources to existing and new hits, which include the upcoming second season of Meghan Markle's Archetype. A spokesperson for Archwell said the team behind Archetypes remain proud of the podcast they created at Spotify. Meghan is continuing to develop more content for the Archetypes audience on another platform. Which, while it stinks that it's not going to be on Spotify anymore, it's probably better for a lot of people that don't listen to their podcast on Spotify, which is a much bigger problem than people realize. If you're a royal watcher and you hate Meghan and you're thinking this is just a Meghan problem, it is not. Spotify acquired Parcast, they acquired Gimlet, and it's been a shit show. I'm not worried about this at all. Meghan has great representation with WME. They have been proven that they can bring in money. I think a lot of people will be clamoring if she does decide to shop this podcast and other future ones around. If they were the only high profile people to leave Spotify podcasting, I'd be worried, but I'm not. It seems like they have to work out some shit. So yeah, onward and upward.
I think you saw that Beatrice and Edo went to Jordan for the wedding.
I did. I was going to ask you about that because there was so much about the tiara. I've got to ask you.
Well, yeah. I wondered whether you were going to, because I know you like those sparkly things. Yeah.
Did you guys know that Prince Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson has a literal podcast, the premise of which is to spill the royal tea? And well, I'll just say this. The things that get people all riled up about Meghan and that get The Sun and The Mirror and the Daily Mail to write like 87 articles a day about her, namely, oh, she's cashing in on the royal connection. Yeah, it's Sarah who is actually doing those things, not Meghan. Meghan's podcast was about feminism and the things that hold women back, which if you can say Meghan has a brand that is personal to her, that's it. That's been her thing since before she married into the royal family. Sarah Ferguson has made kissing the ass of the royal family her personal brand since she was divorced from Prince Andrew. There's a very good reason that she does this, because she still lives with Prince Andrew in a crown estate property. But if you want to get mad, oh my god, this piece of paper. If you want to get mad at anybody for cashing in on the royal connection, here she is. Here she is. Like, this is the woman who has posed for multiple photo shoots with the Queen's corgis, partly in an effort to sell a novel she's written. And I'm not actually saying go harass her for cashing in on the royal connection, but that's what it looks like. She also went on a talk show and had a pet psychic tell her that the Queen's corgis were very happy with the care she was giving them. You can't make this up. The way that Meghan Markle would be burned in effigy if she did that. And I know why it's okay for Sarah to do it and it's not okay for Meghan to do it. Like, setting aside all of the isms that prevent people from liking Meghan Markle, the sexism, the racism, the xenophobia, pick your poison. No, it's because Sarah Ferguson uses her royal connection to continue kissing the ass of the royals rather than gunning for change. That is the crux of the difference. It's just fascinating to me as a landscape, as like a place we've ended up where these double standards are just literally right in front of our faces. It's funny, but like not funny, haha.
Was Meghan rude, and did she alienate her staff when she was a working royal? Let's get into what Harry has to say in his book Spare. Harry writes about the competition between his office and William's office and the friction that their competing agendas caused. He talks about staff members slumping across their desk and weeping, and how William blamed all of the tension on Meghan, and he told Harry so several times. Harry makes it clear that he feels that the real issue lied with the people that were in the employ of William's office, who were kind of playing the game of telephone to cause miscommunications that didn't exist to begin with. Harry talks about having a sort of summit with Will and Kate in June of 2018, where him and Meghan met with them to clear the air. And I'm sorry guys, the list of petty complaints that Will and Kate had they were upset that they didn't receive Easter presents, to which Harry was like, bro, we have never sent each other an Easter present once in our entire life. I didn't know that was something we were doing now. More than happy to oblige. Sorry. Kate was upset that Meghan thought that she wanted her fashion contacts. The horror. Can you expect your sister-in-law wanting a helping hand? To which Meghan assured her she did not, want anything like that, and she was so sorry if there was a misunderstanding. Wow, with family like this, who needs enemies, right? Then we get to the part where Kate demands an apology for Meghan telling her that she had baby brain. Once again, it reads like they're trying to find petty complaints to make Meghan the problem. You hurt my feelings, Meghan. When? Please tell me. I told you I couldn't remember something, and you said it was my hormones. What are you talking about? Kate mentioned a phone call in which they discussed the timing of wedding rehearsals. Meg said, oh yes, I remember. You couldn't remember something, and I said it's not a big deal, it's baby brain, because you just had a baby, it's hormones. Kate's eyes widened. Yes, you talked about my hormones. We're not close enough for you to talk about my hormones. So shortly after this summit is when the Duchess difficult narrative began, according to Harry within the press. Harry talks about telling Meghan that he was concerned about how well she was handling the pregnancy and the requirements of her role, because this was exactly what happened before the press was tipped off to start printing negative stories about Diana. She wasn't supposed to make the role look as easy as she was. As the negative press stories continued to be leaked, a second summit was arranged with Will and Kate in December of 2018. They get the ball rolling by acknowledging that Kate is the one who made Meghan cry about the bridesmaid dresses, but they can't acknowledge that publicly because it would make Kate look bad. But then we get to the real crux of where all these negative stories were coming from. Will lets it slip that he may have told Pa and Camilla about the issues that they were having with Meghan and Harry. Being a royal aide is a very intense job, and there's a lot of high turnover with these sort of positions. I don't think Meghan was the problem. I think it was Will and Kate dropping stories to the press through their connection with Camilla. Because as Harry states himself, a heavy silence fell. So now we knew. I told Willie, you of all people should have known. He nodded. He knew. More silence. It was time for them to go.
Undaunted by legal rulings as they are by abuse.
Okay, I want you to go and watch the entire video that Meredith just posted, but I just picked out this piece. As undaunted by legal outcomes as they are by abuse. The whole thing, the whole article, it's kind of senseless. I don't know what she's on about, but my thought is that it sounds like the media, this journalist in particular, use the word loosely, by the way, they're very frustrated by the fact that they get absolutely no reaction from them. So Harry and Meghan moved away to escape the British media, and they have. The British media keeps writing, they keep trying, and they are poking and poking and poking and poking. The abuse that they have endured and the legal rulings that they've endured are all because of the media. All of it. Because the monarchy only exists at the will and whim of public opinion. And the media can sway that in either direction. So they have been abusing them and nothing. Because they're not part of the royal rota. They have no access to Harry and Meghan. They have, and it feels to me, this whole thing feels to me like that, and it has for a while, like they're very frustrated with that because there's nothing new to print. There's nothing. And even when they had, the car chase and all of that, and they did the thing, and then they started with, the marriage is in trouble. And, they just keep going over things where they have no evidence whatsoever. And I think, to me, what this sounds like is we're going to try a different tack. Let's see if we can get them to compromise. Meghan and Harry, they're supposed to give us something. We're entitled to something, and they won't yield. And now maybe if we were nice to them a little bit, maybe if we handle this a different way, because it feels like they're trying to get a reaction. Let's say that Meghan is leaving Harry instead of Harry leaving Meghan. To me it looks like, from the outside, that they're just trying every which way possible to poke at them, and they're getting no response. I would go as far as to say Meghan and Harry aren't even looking at what they're writing. Someone is probably going through it and keeping track of it, but they are, for the most part, just living their lives and not exposing themselves to that. And I'm like, good on them. I mean, they're just doing a great job. Yeah.
Carol from Berkshire, what's your views on this? Have we lost interest in Harry and Meghan? Have they fallen out of favour?
No, you haven't, because here they are again being discussed on television. So it's quite clear, without Harry and Meghan's name, there is very little else to discuss about the royal family. Let's be honest, we all know the others are extremely boring. And actually, even if Harry didn't write his book Spare, there is a lot of us with common sense who could see what the British media were doing. It's quite obvious that there's always in-house fighting from all the palaces, and it's quite clear that the palaces for years, since the days of Diana, been sharing information. So people aren't silly. what happens is production team always throws out some question about Harry and Meghan, waiting for negativity, but people get it. People know that Harry's not been treated right.
Listen, we don't always get negativity. Sometimes with Carol, we get individuals like yourself calling up and taking part in the conversation.
Yeah, no, I know you get positive comments as well.
I'm wondering.
I know you get positive comments, but what I'm saying is, it's the question sometimes. Have people fallen out with Harry and Meghan, which could trigger the hate which we've just seen from the guy? I have to agree with Narinda on this. Harry and Meghan are loved around the world.
Carol, I object to you saying, firstly, that it is hate, but secondly, they could always.
Let's not pretend it's not a build-up of hate. Let's be real.
They could always.
The toxic media, the toxic TV, it's been relentless on Harry and Meghan. And yet Philip Schofield was just in the news for 2 weeks, and how many people were saying, get off his back.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.